Good morning, everybody. I'm thrilled you're here today. It's a beautiful day. I'm certainly going to enjoy it. And I thought I'd give you a different look of my yard with all my cool prehistoric ferns behind me. Hey, if you don't know who I am, I'm Rhea Hickman. I'm a body-mind expert and shiatsu massage therapist. But my specialty is helping women who are in toxic and narcissistic relationships. I help them find balance, get their life back together, move on, divorce, not divorce, deal with their kids, heal from their family. But there's all sorts of ways that narcissists have come into our lives. And narcissists, because of their high level, so self-absorbed, it means that when one comes into our life, it really throws our whole idea of how the world's supposed to work upside down. You know, because we were taught a certain way to behave, a certain way to be, and that's what a nice world looked like. And we just maybe lived or had a family or an experience didn't fit the norm, didn't fit how it's supposed to look, didn't fit how we're supposed to be. So narcissism really upends people's lives, mainly because it's so unexpected. Even though it's everywhere. Narcissism is, everybody's got narcissism, and it's just, you know, when, I remember hearing a quote many years ago, which was about how unless you are actually in a war, unless you're actually against an enemy of some sort, you have no idea how you're really going to respond. You don't know if you're going to run or fight or faint, or you don't know. And so until you have experiences with narcissists, until you're present with them, you really don't know how you're going to respond. And until a narcissist is in a wide variety of situations, you don't know how they're going to respond. So how do we avoid narcissists in our lives? How do we start creating friendships and relationships, find therapists and lawyers and support systems and energy healers and whatnot? How do we find people and develop relationships with people who are less narcissistic, who are not high in the self-absorption scale? Now, there's a lot of reasons that people behave in narcissistic ways. One of the main ones is to protect themselves. And deal with how uncomfortable that they are, you know, because they feel unsafe and they feel that the only way to stay safe is to control and manipulate and power through and bully the people around them, which is probably you. And it may only come up in certain circumstances, when the weather's weird, or their pain level is high, or their sugar level is low, or they had a bad day, or you know, all sorts of things trigger narcissistic episodes. They can be very physical as well as mental and emotional. So how do you avoid these hidden, you know, these hidden traits, or even bringing these traits out of people that you have relationships with? How do you help avoid being the victim of a narcissist out in the outside world? Because one of the first things you need to do when you're looking to make a shift is to find a good support system. And the question I hear over and over is, that's great, but where do I find healthy people to spend time with? So let me tell you the difference between healthy people and not healthy people, of which I have been not healthy. You know, I've been non-healthy for decades and decades because I just didn't know any better. The difference is healthy people respect their own time and their own energy and how they feel and what they want. In fact, a healthy person has a touch of narcissism. A healthy person has that self-preservation, and they are looking out for themselves. The biggest difference is that they have a way they've worked through their life on learning how to work through those emotions, on how to find balance, on how to heal, how to behave in an appropriate way. So healthy people that you want to spend time with, whether it be therapists or body workers or coaches, are people who respect themselves first and foremost. Not respect to the level of injuring you, but respect to the way that they sit back and they sort of watch and observe, and they gather information before they jump headlong into any sort of new relationship. Healthy people are the type that they feel like they're a little bit distant. You know, they're warm, they're caring, they're supportive, but there's a little bit of distance to them, especially when you meet them at first, because they are evaluating you, whether you should be in their life. They're looking to see whether you are someone that they want to be friends with, whether you resonate on a higher level or not. And so how they respect themselves is they take that time and they observe and they gather information. Now, when you've been hurt or traumatized or affected by a narcissist, whether you were a kid or whether you were an adult, we tend to be in such a high level of stress that we are just grateful that someone is nice to us. We're like, oh, you're nice to me. Oh my God, thank God. You're going to be a nice person, because I know the world is a nice place. I just happen to be in a really bad relationship. When in reality, the world isn't a very nice place, but there's a lot of nice people. And it's up to you to start respecting yourself in order to find them. So you start relationships slowly. You ask questions. You find out who they are. You think about what they believe. You watch them in different situations. You create different situations in order to kind of feel people out. People who respect themselves don't jump into new relationships. Even though we are so grateful that someone, you know, is connecting with us, you have to ask yourself, you know, what's underneath the surface? Now, this got in my way a lot when I was younger, because I was dealing with wanting to feel connected so bad that I would overshare. I would give way too much information too quickly, and then I'd be so grateful that somebody would be a friend, and I mean, we'd be connected, two peas in a pod, because they were a narcissist and I was a codependent. They were thrilled to find somebody who would hang on every word that they had, and I was thrilled that somebody would take the time to tell me about themselves. And but when you respect yourself, when you have that layer of, you know what, I'm going to watch a little bit, I'm going to wait. I'm going to assume that, you know, a lot of people have narcissistic tendencies, and I'm going to watch to see how they treat other people, how they treat me, whether they show up on time. You do all these things before you invest in a longer term relationship. It's not that you run away and avoid them all. It's that you say to yourself, for a little while, is this person worth being in my life? Are they adding enough to my life that I want to let myself be more vulnerable to them, or I want to let myself get closer to them, or I want to get emotionally attached to them, or I want to believe the best? You can believe the best, but also protect yourself. So how do you avoid bringing out the narcissism in other people? You know, many narcissists at the beginning, they are testing to see what they can get away with, what you'll accept, what you'll allow, whether you'll allow them to minimize you or minimize your friends, whether they'll allow you, you know, whether you'll allow them to treat what matters to you with respect or not. One of the best cues is to, at the beginning of the relationship, set a few boundaries, small boundaries, light boundaries about, you know, what matters to you, and see if they respect them. And if they don't respect them and you bring it up, you're like, hey, this is a boundary, this is something important to me, and they kind of railroad you, that's not a relationship that you want. You want someone who, when you say, don't call me after 9 p.m., they're awake and aware and conscious and functional enough that they remember that you didn't want to be called after 9 p.m. And if they do call you after 9 p.m. and you say, okay, but please, I appreciate it if you don't call me after 9 p.m. This is important to me. If they break small boundaries that you make like that, if they don't respect small boundaries like that, then they're not going to respect you in bigger, deeper friendships, because they aren't aware enough of their environment, of the people around them. They are self-absorbed. If you look at narcissism as self-absorption, which isn't bad. It's just, it's kind of based on, you know, your level of stress, your level of trauma. You know, if people have a difficult time being aware and present to the people around them because of their own world or drama, that's a pretty good cue. That's a good cue. It means that it's not that they're bad people. It just means that they're incapable of being present. Now, you can give people a little bit of slack, absolutely, but there's the part of you that says, you know what, I'm going to wait and watch. So one of the things I wanted to quick talk about today was small talk, how you can use small talk to get to know people. You know, I always wanted to walk into relationships and dive right into the deepest topic I could find. I wanted to dive in emotional well-being and how are you doing, because that's what was always on my mind. Healthy people are thinking about other things. They're thinking about their family or their friends. They're thinking about what's going on in the world, how they can make a difference. They're thinking about things like that. They're not as focused on, you know, what's going on a deeper level. And what they do is they sit and they wait and they watch and they see if someone is worth it, let's say, of putting themselves out there, of making themselves vulnerable. Healthy people do not leave themselves vulnerable to everybody. They realize the world has a lot of narcissists in it, and when they don't set any boundaries and they don't respect themselves, the narcissists see that, recognize that, and say, hey, I want to be your best friend. Whereas when they have a little bit of a distance, when they think, when they watch, when they sit, when they listen, when they question, when they observe a little bit, they're able to find people or recognize people that are healthier, because it's a back and forth exchange. It's a back and forth dialogue. It's not completely one-sided on you or completely one-sided on the other person. It's a back and forth. So even though you may be in a position where you feel a little desperate, remember, it's when you're in that place of desperation and helplessness and hopelessness that that narcissists can recognize. And when you come from a place of, I love and respect myself, so I'm going to watch what's going on around me before I make a decision, before I decide to join, before I commit. I'm going to look for things that may mean that someone's healthy or may mean that someone struggles. I'm going to take my time developing the relationship, and I'm going to use things like small talk. I'm going to use things like casual conversation in order to determine who I want in my life and who I don't. That's one of the biggest ways you avoid narcissists, is you respect yourself and you respect what you need. Not in a big, dramatic, over-the-top sort of way. You should be able to just voice what you need. And yes, the other person might miss it. They might not understand. And so you give them a couple chances to voice what you need. You know, very clearly, don't call me after 9 o'clock. If you call me after 9 o'clock, I'm not going to answer the phone, period. If you text me after 9 o'clock, I'm not going to respond to the text until the next day, period. You get to start setting boundaries like that. And for the people who respect them, then you let yourself get closer. You let yourself go deeper. For the people that don't, you get to back away, or you get to stay where you're at. You don't have to move closer. They will be able to find the person that's a fit for them. And it might not be you. So when you're looking for healthy, good relationships, support system, in order to start getting back up on your feet, you need to look for people who already have a healthy relationships, healthy friendships in other parts of their life. And then you need to slowly develop relationships with them. Slowly let people in that you can consciously create life that I want, and so these are the people I will let in. And narcissists are very tricky. They come across as charming and wonderful and over the top, but that is a sign. When someone is that emotionally engaged, when someone is that over the top, they might not be the right fit for you. It might not be the right supportive relationship. You're looking for someone who is whole within themselves, and you're looking to be whole within yourself. And when you find that, what happens is not the codependent narcissist back and forth and what it becomes is a gentle relationship that supports you so you can arrive at bigger and bigger things. You want people that aren't still big in their healing process. You want people who've made some traction. And the people who've made some traction are the ones who respect themselves enough that they will not be your best friend from the first moment, no matter. You check out, because your time and your space is very valuable, extremely valuable. And you deserve to protect that and let people in who have the ability to be caring and loving and supportive and stable. And the people who don't have that ability, or more than you want them to be, you allow them to move on before you become emotionally attached, before you become committed, before you become married or besties, or you give them all your personal information. You get to decide from the beginning. So keep in mind that a lot of people, everybody has narcissistic tendencies. Some of them only come out in certain situations. You have narcissistic tendencies. And the healthier you can be, where you observe and watch and look and decide, you're going to find other people who respect themselves too, and they value it, okay? So finding friendships is, small talk is part of it, because it allows you to get to know someone without giving them the farm, without giving them everything. At the beginning. And if you do that, soon you'll find yourself surrounded by healthy people and not surrounded by narcissists, okay? So I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you feel stuck, reach out. I'm doing a coaching program, a small private coaching program that is super affordable, and then I do one-on-one coaching as well. So if you'd like to join the program, or if you'd like to coach one-on-one with me, or if you'd like to do a clarity call, because I do clarity calls for $100, where it's 2 calls, where we really dig deeper into what's going on, and we come up with where you're at, where you're going, the tools that you need, whether it's working with me or not, doesn't matter. But you definitely get better insight on what's happening in your life and what to do next. Gives you a concrete next step. So there's bunches of ways to work with me, and if you feel stuck and need help, reach out. Because although this may be a long journey, you don't have to do it by yourself, and it doesn't have to be as hard as you were probably taught it needed to be. And it doesn't have to be as lonely, okay? So, have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!